Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is your Manchester United versus Sheriff Tiraspol preview ahead of Thursday's Europa League tie. Plus, we've got all the latest Manchester United news as more news comes out from this time Paris about Sir Jim Ratcliffe wanting to buy Manchester United and bring his own sporting director in, somebody I think you've heard of before. Also, we'll be bringing you the latest on this right back, Santiago Arias. Get it wrong and it sounds like something else, Arias. But yeah, Santiago Arias, formerly of Atletico Madrid, but the PSV link is probably why we're being linked to him. Free agent, could he be coming in as a right back, backup to Delo? There has been some rumour about it. We'll talk about that. But first of all, I want to get into the game here. Live a little bit early tonight because we are going to be doing an Ajax, Liverpool and Bayern Barcelona game watch along on That's Football straight after this. Interestingly, Manchester United context, De Jong sat on the bench for Barcelona. Ajax was Ten Hag's former club. So, bit of interest there. Anyway, let's get into this. Manchester United are playing Sheriff on Thursday night. This is the team I've gone with. So De Gea in goal, Delo, Varane, Martinez, Malacia, Casemiro, Eriksen, Bruno, Anthony, Ronaldo and Sancho. So a few changes in that team, but quite a strong team. Now look, he may well play Maguire next to Martinez. He may well give Luke Shaw a bit of game time because he has been back in training. But there's a few things I wouldn't do and there's a few things I think we can't do. I have been studying the training pictures that have been released today. Now, obviously, does it really benefit Manchester United to not let Sheriff know that Marcus Rashford is fit? I'm not so sure. Maybe that's what we're trying to do. But looking at those pictures, Luke Shaw was training yesterday and was in training today. We've seen the pictures of that. I've seen virtually every player. Alanga, McTominay, Ronaldo, Casemiro, Varane, Fred. I've seen them all. Malacia, Delo. But I haven't seen Donny van der Beek and I haven't seen Rashford in training. So it looks to me like those two players will not be available for Thursday unless they're doing hide and seek on the photos that United have released from training today. Therefore, we know we haven't got Anthony Martial. So Ronaldo would play through the middle. And I think Ronaldo starting is a good idea. We've got a very, very hectic October. I think Sheriff are not very good, and I'll explain why in a minute. This is an opportunity for Ronaldo to bag a couple of goals, then to go on international duty and to come back with a bit of buzz around him going into big fixtures. We know we'll have Martial and Rashford back after the international break. So we really need to get Ronaldo fit and firing now because we're maybe not going to get the time to give him them minutes in October. So I would have started Ronaldo anyway for that reason. Especially if Rashford's carrying a bit of an injury. So Ronaldo starting, hopefully gets some goals, and that could benefit us if he goes and does well on the international break and in October. And then the other key position is, well, why Casemiro over McTominay? Again, I don't think Scott McTominay needs game time. I think he's up to speed. I think he knows what his job is. And again, he'll be playing internationals for Scotland. And I think Casemiro, we need to get him up to speed. We spent 60 million quid on him. And with all due respect to Scott McTominay, let's play McTominay next to Casemiro and give Eriksen a break. But let's play Casemiro because like Ronaldo, I think it's Ten Hag's responsibility and it's Manchester United's responsibility to get these players up to speed. And if they don't play on Thursday, you're relying on what the international coach does, and then they come back and are they up to speed to play for United? I wouldn't waste this opportunity to give Casemiro another 90 minutes and get him more used to playing with the team against the team that's not particularly good and also in surroundings that he's pretty used to. It's not a Premier League game. So I think Casemiro's got to start. I think Ronaldo's got to start. But other than that, I'd go strong. And I would go strong. And I think the most important area is the back four. You could easily play Maguire. You could play Wan-Bissaka. You could play Lindelof. You could play Shaw. But we haven't played with our back four since Arsenal, which is going to be a week and a half away by the time we play on Thursday night. If we don't pick our strongest back four, then they won't have played together for 4 weeks by the time we play Man City. And that just, to me, just seems a little bit wrong. And I know it's an easy game on paper, but that back four playing together, at least they've had another game that is a little bit closer to that Man City. So I just think for communication, camaraderie, continuity, and a bit of rhythm, I would just play that back four. I expect them to have a very easy night, But you know what? That might not be a bad thing. That back four not having to do a lot of defending and actually pressing up high with the high line, we're going to have a lot of possession against Sheriff. I'm going to give you a little bit of a lowdown on Sheriff now. They beat Real Madrid 2-1. Was it last season in the Champions League or was it the year before, right? They beat them 2-1. I think Real Madrid had 31 shots and Tiraspol had 4. Their possession was lower than 30%. They played the Cypriot side, is it Ammonia, last week. They beat them 3-0 and they had 39% possession. They don't want the ball. Rezwan says they're not a bad team. They're not a bad defensive team, but they don't want the ball, Rezwan. They do not want the ball. Like, they beat the Cypriot team 3-0, but had 40% possession. So, and I think they were at home. So, look, they're not a team that's going to have a lot of the ball. This is going to be a quintessential Ajax Ten Hag team. 70% possession, lots of shots, more than double the passes. We're going to absolutely dominate them. So I would set that team up with Anthony, Sancho and Ronaldo, because I think that's the front three that we thought would happen if we were going to dominate possession against teams. Bruno and Eriksen. It could be... I think you've got to go as strong as you can. I think you've got to go as strong as you can within reason, because ultimately, if I was Ten Hag, I'd try and pick the team that I think is going to be my best team in 3 or 4 months' time. And you can't pick Martial because he's injured. You can't pick Rashford because he's probably, not quite right. But you can pick Casemiro. And I would pick that team and I would say to them, I don't care if you're winning 5-0 at half-time, keep going. Because I want you to go and break them down. They're going to sit in deep. They're going to give us the ball. It's going to be a low block. This is a great example of how I want to play. I want my centre-backs on the halfway line. I want my full-backs to bomb on. I want us to dominate the ball. I want us to be patient with the ball. And I want us to pick them off. I want to put crosses into the box for Ronaldo. And I also want us to be patient in the build-up and probe. That's what I want us to do. I want an early goal. I want them to open up a bit. And I want to absolutely beat them 3 or 4-0. And I think that will serve as a really good opportunity for Manchester United. Because somebody was saying the other day that... somebody said the other day, with all these games Manchester United have got postponed, could they get a game behind closed doors? Well... when are they going to get a game behind closed doors? We play Thursday night. They'll be all going on international duty on Monday. So there's no time to do any get behind closed doors game. I think ideally you probably would do, but there isn't going to be any time to do any behind closed doors games. We might do some when the internationals are on away, but I don't think that we do that. But I really do. I feel very strongly about this. I think that's the right team to go with. I'm probably going to get it wrong. Some of you might disagree with me, but I would go with that team because Casemiro needs the minutes. I don't think McTominay does. Ronaldo needs the minutes, and with no Martial and Rashford potentially carrying a knock, it's a great opportunity. And the rest of the team, I'd go strong. Get Sancho and Anthony working well. Get the fullbacks bombing on. Get that midfield working well. Get that defensive line high. Create a lot of chances. And let's win this game 3 or 4-0. And as I said, if you don't know anything about Sheriff, they're a really interesting team. They've got fantastic facilities. Obviously, they play in the Moldovan League. I think they were formed in 1997. There's all sorts of stories about them, which I'm not going to get into. I mean, there's even people going on about money laundering and all sorts of stuff. I mean, I don't know about that, but effectively they're very rich in that league. I think they've won 18 of the last 19 or 20 Moldovan league titles, or 17 out of 19. That they've absolutely dominated that league. And in a league that doesn't really have a lot of money in it, and some grounds have one man and his dog watching in crumbling stadiums. They've got better training facilities than most teams in that league. So it's a very wealthy club. I think the Sheriff bit comes from the name of a supermarket which their owners own or something like that. So they're very wealthy. But obviously, I think when they were in the Champions League a couple of years ago, that's the first time they've ever been in the Champions League. So they're not European heavyweights or even lightweights, really. They're very much the underdogs. But that famous win against Real Madrid was very, very good for them. And they're more than capable of pulling off a shock. I don't think we can walk into this and just think it's going to be easy. They're more than capable of pulling off a shock. But we've got to win. And I expect us to win. Casemiro played when these guys embarrassed Real, so he could help the side be focused and avoid complacency, says Carl. Very, very good point there. Thoughts on Barcelona versus Bayern? I'm going to watch it in about an hour at Orlando. You can join me on That's Football for that. And I'm going to watch Ajax versus Liverpool as well, Birkin. That's why we're a little bit early. Where do you think Man United will finish in the Premier League, says Wolf? Well, we're not playing in the Premier League at the moment, so it's a little bit different to discuss that at the moment. I'd love to have seen Ronaldo on the field, but he's not in the best at the moment, says Mohammed. Well, this is why we need to play him, in my opinion. And I will say that we'll win the game 3 or 4-0. So that effectively is the preview part over. So I can move on to a little bit of news now. Let's start off with Sir Jim Radcliffe. Did you know what by Sir Alex Ferguson, says Tom Best. Games are postponed because the Queen... And there isn't... Okay, thank you, Seb. We spoke about that yesterday. So you might have noticed this. I suppose there's 2 angles to this. There's a director of football, sporting director, that everybody loves. And his name is Campos. I think it's Louis Campos. Wears glasses, slightly thinning on top, probably about 60 years of age. Many of you might not know the name. Many of you might not be able to picture the face. But effectively, I think he worked with Mourinho at Real Madrid back in, 2012. He then went to Monaco and basically was part of the development of Martial. He was part of the Monaco transfer for PSG with Mbappe, Fabinho, James Rodriguez. These were all players that he had involvement in as a sporting director. I then think he went to Lille, where Lille have produced players, of course, such as Pepe and others. And he's now, I believe, he's at PSG. Now, why am I talking about this director of football? Well, obviously, I'd like a proper director of football instead of John Murtagh. But there is a story from Le Parisien, which is a French outlet, funnily enough. It's not, it's from Stoke. Le Parisien. It's a Stoke thing. It's Le Parisien. No, it's not. It's a French thing. And basically, Le Parisien is saying that Sir Jim Radcliffe is still very open to buying Manchester United for £4 billion. And that when he does get Manchester United, he wants to bring Louis Campos in as the director of football. So, look, it's a nice story. It's a nice story, isn't it? It's a very nice story. I think it's nice to still be talking about Sir Jim Radcliffe buying Manchester United. I think it does us good every time I hear that. Even last week there was talk of money coming in from the Middle East for Manchester United. So every time I hear that the Glazers might sell the club, I've got to say it makes me feel quite happy. So the fact that this story is coming out from Le Parisien in France is good, because it just keeps it in. I think it's important that it stays in the public dialect. It stays in the minds of Manchester United fans. Now, some people would say quite rightly, but why should we get excited about a story about Manchester United being bought by somebody who hasn't bought us yet in France? Well, of course, Sir Jim Radcliffe owns Nice Football Club, who have quite a lot of former Premier League players playing there. Aaron Ramsey's there, Ross Barkley's there, Schmeichel's there, Kasper Schmeichel. I think Schneiderlin's there. So he's got a big... I think he owns Nice, but he's certainly got a big part in Nice. Obviously, Nice is in France. It's not next to Stoke. Nice, we'd call it Nice. We wouldn't call it Nice, we'd call it Nice. No, that's Leeds. You're thinking of Leeds. We wouldn't call it Nice, we'd call it Nice. It's nice at Nice. Anyway, so yes, Sir Jim Radcliffe has involvement with Nice. So therefore, Le Parisien is in France and Nice is in France. So maybe they're getting some information around that. I don't know. But look, I think it's a positive. And look, first things first, the Glazers need to sell. Second things second, I'd like it to be Sir Jim Radcliffe. And then third things third is something we've always spoken about on this channel. Look at what Todd Bowley's just done at Chelsea. He buys the club, he sacks the manager. Thomas Tuchel, I think, is a good manager. He could have been a Man United manager. Could be our manager now if he took it in March. But he decided to stay loyal to Chelsea, and football's not loyal. He's sacked 6 months later. Why was he sacked? Because a new owner took over and wanted to do things his way. There is absolutely no way on this planet, if Sir Jim Radcliffe buys Manchester United or any other person that's good for the club buys Manchester United, there is absolutely no way they're going to walk in and go, Richard, John, I love you, baby. You've got a job for life here. They're going to go, I want to bring in my own people. So whether Manchester United get bought by Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and even if he does buy Manchester United, whether we get Louis Campos to come in as our sporting director or not, it's probably a bit far-fetched. But they would bring their own person in. And I think Chelsea were after that Campos, actually. They're looking for a sporting director as well. So, look, we probably won't get him, but it's always good to hear about plans as to how to improve Manchester United. And I certainly, it's a bit of a coincidence, actually, because on the show this afternoon when we were talking about Bellingham, I was saying, and I don't know what many of you think, that I don't personally think that Manchester United's football club beyond Ten Hag is in a very good position at all. I thought the transfer window was catastrophic and chaotic and a mess. And whether the Glazers are staying or not, I would seriously be looking at that director of football and CEO area and going, why did all this happen and who made the mistakes? But the Glazers never do that. The squad you have is perfect for possession style. Erik ten Hag should improve possession style game because that's what he's here for. I don't want him to play counter-attacking, says Raj. We're categorically, Raj, not going to play counter-attacking football against Sheriff. We will play a possession-based game, and that is why I'd go with a strong team. I've got a feeling, by the way, that Maguire will start. I don't know why, I've just got a feeling he will. Evie Matthews, welcome. Thank you very much for the super chat there. Please call my cousin Martha a prat as she supports Tottenham, says Evie. Not Evie, Evie. Sorry about that. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is, I nearly said hairy ass. Santiago Arias. Now, who is he? Who is this Santiago guy? What's the big idea with Santiago Arias? Why do Manchester United keep getting... Tommy, why do Manchester United keep getting bloody linked to Santiago Arias? All I want to do is have a whiskey, Tommy. I don't know what's going on. So Santiago Arias is a right back of Colombian descent. He was at Atletico Madrid. He's now a free agent. He's 30 years of age. Now, Manchester United have been linked to him quite extensively over the last few days from sources that just don't really seem that realistic. I read about it in the Manchester Evening News today, and I was like, they were sort of acknowledging the story, but also acknowledging the fact that the sources may not be the best. But he is free agent. So I'm talking like Romano now. He is free agent. No, I didn't. I went too deep there. He is free agent. So that means that he's a free agent. I don't know why I'm going. He's free agent. He's a free agent, so we can sign him today, tomorrow, next week. Whilst he's not signed up by a club, he's available, and Manchester United could sign him if they wanted to. Why would they sign him? Surely if he's any good, he'd be signed up by a club by now. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely exactly. I agree. But who is he? Because maybe we will sign him. I think what is very, very clear is that Ten Hag wanted Wan-Bissaka to be moved on. I like Wan-Bissaka. I personally think if he was at West Ham, he'd be really good for them and probably rebuild his career at a team that's a little bit more defensive than we want to be. So I think Wan-Bissaka staying at Manchester United is just circumstance. I think Wan-Bissaka would have quite liked to have moved and played football. I think it's obvious that Ten Hag wanted him to go. Twan Sebi, Brandon Williams, Aaron Wan-Bissaka were basically all for sale at the start of June, and they're all still at the club for different reasons. A couple of them got injured. Ten Hag clearly doesn't fancy Brandon Williams or Aaron Wan-Bissaka as players that he can build out in the future. Maybe Brandon Williams can prove him wrong because he's young, but I think with Wan-Bissaka, he's really not made up on him. And we got that story a few days ago that Ten Hag wanted to move him on, but John Murtough was of the opinion that they should keep him. Which is where I think it leaves this grey area of it's very obvious that Ten Hag doesn't rate Wan-Bissaka. He brought Lindelof on at right back against Real Sociedad, although to be fair, Wan-Bissaka wasn't even on the bench, even though he's named on the bench. So there is the potential to need another right back. Now, I think it's 2 + 2 = 6 with Arias, Santiago Arias. I don't think we're in for him at all. And the reason I don't think we're in for him is because I just think it's too common sense that we would go for him. Not that we should go for him, but if you look at his career, he's a very attacking right back. And he played 5 years at PSV. I think he played over 170 games for PSV in 5 years. So he's a first teamer for PSV from about 2013 to 2018. And then he went to Atletico Madrid, where he's had a couple of injuries and really just didn't get into the team. Obviously, they used other players at right back. So, you know, I'm thinking free agent, attacking right back. We need a right back, and he played 5 years for PSV, so Ten Hag will know who he is. I think that's probably what it's all about. I don't think there's any prospect of United going for him, but I suppose that's why it's being mentioned, because I think it's being mentioned because we need a right back who's attacking and he's played in Holland for 5 years. And then if we do go and get him, it's probably because he's an attacking right back who's free, and Ten Hag knows about him because he played in the Netherlands for 5 years. So I don't think it's going to happen, but I think you can see why we're being linked to him, because one makes sense and one makes sense. It's the Dutch thing, isn't it? It's the fact that he's played in PSV for 5 years that's either generating a fake story or actually there might be a bit of interest. What's to say a new owner wouldn't want their own manager? Yes, they can remove everyone else, but they could hire their own manager, says Arjun. I mean, Arjun makes a good point. 2 + 2 is Matic, says Josh. I know. Get your questions in. No, you're right. You're absolutely correct. To be honest with you, I said this when Chelsea got a new owner. And before the season even started, I said I'd be worried if I was Tuchel, because how many times does a new owner want their own manager? It's almost like some new owners buy a football club and they think they get a bed with a wife in it or a husband that has been married to the previous owner. And that's obviously not the case, but they almost go into the club and go, well, I'm not having you. I'm not having you. You're the previous owner's property. I don't want you. And that can happen, and it happens a lot. But I don't think that would happen. Well, I don't know. I don't know Sir Jim Ratcliffe personally. I don't know what any owner of Manchester United would do. Maybe they would come in and go, I've spent a lot of money on this club. I don't want Ten Hag. I want, whoever. But I don't think that would be the case, because in Ten Hag, you've got one of the most exciting managers in European football at the moment. So why would you want to replace that? I don't think you would. Does United actually use scouts, having almost none evidence in the last 7 years, says Dubby. I miss Carricky, says Lilies. Carricky. I've had a job offer, Carricky, at Sainsbury's. No, apparently Solskjaer has had a load of job offers, but he's turned them down. Well, I don't want to talk about Solskjaer. I love Solskjaer. I love him as a player. I think he's comes across as a really nice guy. But, so does the guy who served me at John Lewis. But I wouldn't want him to manage Manchester United. So, there's no need to mock or... I heard somebody the other day, Solskjaer's a United legend, don't forget that. He gave me and many other fans one of the greatest nights of our lives. He was a fantastic striker, and I always said that whatever happened with him as a manager, and I think it was a disaster with him as a manager, and we're still paying for it now, it will never tarnish what he did as a player. And I saw somebody saying the other day, since Solskjaer's been sacked, there's been something like 14 Premier League jobs have come up, and not one of them has he been interviewed for. But we already knew that. We already knew it when he was Man United manager. He got the job at United because he was given it as an interim because he was an ex-player to steady the ship, and then they gave him the job. He'd never get a job anywhere else. He got the job because he used to play for United, and they wanted to bring somebody in just to steady the ship for a few months and get a feel-good factor, and he did. The mistake was they gave him a full-time job afterwards. No club would look at Solskjaer's CV in the Premier League and go, let's give him a job. But you know what? No Premier League club would give Gareth Southgate a job, and he's been managing England for years. And people can say you're wrong, Mark, but they're not. I'm not. Who would give Gareth Southgate a job in the Premier League at the moment? I don't think anybody would. Maybe Bournemouth, but I'm not so sure they would. Fulham wouldn't go anywhere near him. Forest wouldn't go anywhere. Well, you never know with them. They buy enough players. But realistically, there's not going to be a big queue, is there? Ten Hag has inherited a team that plays counter-attacking football, so it's going to be a year or so before you see his tactics come out of that team, says Embid. Yeah, I think that's a great point. I know you probably watched the video I did with Ben Foster yesterday. Obviously Ben Foster's played football very recently, so he'll know a lot about the way tactics work and everything like that. And he said yesterday that he thinks it's going to take a while for United to become... We were talking about Sancho, and I was saying Sancho fits a high possession team that plays against the low block, and that's when I think we'll get the best out of Sancho. And Ben Foster was saying, yeah, but I don't think you're going to be playing like that for about a year or a year and a half, which is quite a sobering thought, but we shouldn't be surprised about that. How long did it take for Klopp to get Liverpool playing the way he wanted them to play? I don't know, because I didn't watch Liverpool loads, but he certainly didn't do it straight away. I think because we saw in pre-season we played like Ajax, we thought we're just going to roll in the Premier League and do it. And we probably thought that ourselves, and that's why Brighton and Brentford, beat us. It's a very competitive Premier League, and I don't think you can go from a team that's been playing counter-attacking football for 6 years into a high-pressing, high-possession, high-line, high-chance creation side. It's going to take time. Which is why, against Sheriff, I'd play this team, and I'd give it a go, because they will give us the possession. When you're playing a team that gives you the possession, do it. Play the high line. Create the chances, but... It's hard to do it against teams that don't want to give you 70% possession. The Brightons of this world, they don't want to do that. They want the ball as well. That's when it becomes hard. Carl says, not only was Ollie a great striker, but he was also willing to be a squad player as he loved the club so much. Can't win trebles without that. Good point, Carl. Thanks for the super chat. Hi, Mark. Lots of noise about Glazer's 4 billion price tag set. Any truth in that? Says Tumbleweed. Well, we spoke about it a few minutes ago, mate. I don't personally believe that United's price tag is £4 billion. I think it's closer to 6, but I don't know where I said this, but I just do not. The Glazers' plan for Manchester United is not fit for purpose. Remember what Richard Arnold said in that pub in the summer. He said, we're all right this summer, but next summer is going to be challenging. Well, that's from the CEO of the football club. I think that next summer we are going to be in trouble. They've got to find... apparently a new ground or renovation or anything is going to cost 200 million quid. I think that might be cheap. I see Old Trafford quite a lot. I was up there last week looking at it from a building across the road, and it needs a lot of work. Whether it's knocked down or renovated, and I hope it's renovated, it needs a lot of work, and I don't know whether we'd get that done for under 200 million quid. You don't want to do it on the cheap either. I don't know how much the Bernabeu has cost, but Manchester United should have one of the greatest grounds in the world. So they've got to build a stadium. They've got to rebuild a team. I think that the Glazers should be selling, but they'll want the most. Look, it's really hard to buy something that's making money from people who just want to make money. You go onto your local high street, you find the cafe or the bar or the restaurant that's doing really, really well, and try and buy it. It's difficult. It's really difficult. They might be willing to sell, but they're not going to sell it for cheap. So Manchester United are doing well. Like, I know we're not doing well on the pitch, but we are still making a hell of a lot of money for the Glazers. So I don't think we'll get sold for 4 billion. I'm thinking 6, around there, to be fair. And I don't think it'll be an easy sale, and I don't think it's going to happen quickly, but I'm happy that we're still getting stories about it, because that means that while there's noise, it stays in the fan and public arena, which is really important. With the Glazers, our ambition will always be capped, says Kyle. I agree. Do you think Eric Ten Hag should bring in academy graduates like Zidane Iqbal into the team, says Ahmed? No, not really. I think that if we had a game at the weekend, you could do that. But Ten Hag's got to think about momentum. He's got to think about fluidity. He's got to think about chemistry. And he's got to get the result. We lost to Sociedad last week. Sheriff did beat Real Madrid. I don't think they're going to beat us, but the warning is there that it can happen. We need to win this game on Thursday, and we know we're going to have a lot of possession. What I would like to do is see that team... Can anybody tell me in the chat how many subs you get in the Europa League? Is it 6 or 7? I'd pick this team, and then half time, if you're 2 or 3-0 up, I'd bring another 6 or 7 players on. I would. You know, maybe not all at the same time, but I would make a few subs, definitely, because, you know, try and get as many people to some game time as you can. That's what's important. But I'd start with a stronger team. You can make 5 subs. Does McTominay deserve to be dropped, says Arjun? But you're not really dropped, Arjun. You're not really dropped, are you? 5 subs. Thanks, everyone. You're not really dropped because the Europa League is only now becoming let's play our strongest team because we're not playing Leeds on Sunday. The Europa League would be a game that McTominay and Bruno and Varane and co would be quite happy to sit out. In fact, if we were playing Leeds on Sunday, I think there'd be quite a few first-team players who wouldn't even travel to Moldova because the travelling and then coming back to play Leeds wouldn't be ideal. So I don't think you can say that you're dropping McTominay or anybody else just by picking that team because this is Sheriff in the Europa League. But it's suddenly more important now because we're not playing on the Sunday and it's about game time. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. Apparently, Sporting have just scored against Spurs, so they're winning 1-0. Thoughts on Zidane Bale to start some games, as Samed? Look, I think that there will be opportunities to get him involved. Garnacho, Charlie McNeil, you know, I still include Alanga in that, which is amazing. But yeah, you know, I do want to see them getting some game time. And maybe you can give them 10 minutes in a game like this, you know, if it goes right. Sean Turner says, do you think there will be a shock in the top 4 with teams needing to catch up with possibly 10 weeks of fixtures after Christmas, says Sean. I do, but I don't think it will benefit us, Sean. I think we're one of the teams that is going to struggle the most with the amount of games we've got to play. I don't know whether anybody was watching my FIFA career mode I was playing this afternoon, but I've basically put all the transfers into all the Premier League clubs and started a new career mode. So it's like just the 2 weeks before FIFA 23 comes out. So I started the season, I've got all the United players. And one of the things I noticed straight away was beyond your first team and your bench, there's not a lot. There's not a lot there. And especially in the attacking positions, you've got Rashford, Sancho, Anthony, Martial, Ronaldo, Alanga. 6 players for 3 positions. But really, you've got Martial, who's injury prone. You've got Rashford and Sancho, who are coming off bad seasons. You've got Alanga, who I think is not ready. You've got a new signing in Anthony, 380k a week, because that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is, you know. That's just the way it is. Manchester United pay a lot of money. That's what we do. We pay big wages. We know this. We've always done it. We're stupid. We pay stupid money. That's what Manchester United do. But Erik ten Hag will have his press conference tomorrow, by the way. Worth mentioning because we should get some updates on the team news, which is obviously important. A little bit confused here. What's going on? Let's have a look what people say. It's 2-0. Spurs are losing 2-0 now. 2-0 Spurs are losing. They did beat Marseille last week, but Spurs being Spurs potentially there. Interesting, isn't it? Interesting that Spurs are losing 2-0 in the Champions League, but honestly, I'm looking forward to the game tonight between Ajax and Liverpool. I think it's going to be a really interesting game. And I hope it is, because I just feel like we've been deprived of football for so long. I want to see some good games. I want to watch some football. So, yeah, I will see you live on That's Football in about in a few minutes' time. Normally it pushes you over there, but for some reason it's not working. So I'm just going to stop the stream and make sure I've set it up. But I'll see you on That's Football. I'm going to be live in about 8 minutes. 7:45 I'll start, and we can continue the football chat on there, because that's why I'm not doing an 8 o'clock show. So That's Football. Just type it in. The live chat's already open. Liverpool versus Ajax, and we'll have Bayern versus Barcelona on as well. I'll speak to you over there in a bit. Thanks for watching. Cracking show again. Take care, everyone.